it's Liz and Ashley with C4 Elite Real Estate Team. We're here today with Nigel Farnsworth from American Pacific Mortgage, and today we're going to talk to Nigel about how to buy a home with bad credit.
So Nigel, we kind of want to start off from what is credit and how does it affect the loan process?
Okay, credit is actually the ability for a consumer to have a product or goods or services with the intent to pay and not paying immediately with the promise to pay later. So how does it affect the loan process? It is an important critical part of the loan process where credit is analyzed, and the better your credit is, the better your chances of approval, and then of course the more challenging credit can be challenged as well.
Okay.
What's considered then, Nigel, good credit or a good credit score that we hear?
That's a good question, and it all depends on what you're trying to finance. In the mortgage industry, the credit experts will tell you that the best credit score is 700 and above, and then anything below that can have some additional questions or challenges.
Okay, so what's a difference in the process? Say if you have really good credit versus if your credit's really poor?
That is a really good question. So in the loan industry, we have something that we have to abide by called the ATR, the ability to repay. And we have to prove at this point that the borrower, the consumer, has the ability to pay the loan in the future, because the underwriter, the loan officer, and the company are tied to the performance of that loan. So the better they are on that scale, the better their approval is, there are less questions. If they have some marginal credit or some credit challenges, then it becomes questionable, where sometimes we ask some personal questions. So it feels a little bit more personal than someone that has great credit.
How about if the credit's poor, what additional information do you need?
If the credit is challenged, we'll call it, sometimes we'll need additional information, because as they're buying a home, let's say they're renting perhaps, and that's the closest thing they have to a mortgage payment. Sometimes we have to get verifications from the landlord that they've made payments on time. And sometimes if they are afraid to have any credit debt, we actually have to get some what we call non-traditional credit trade lines, which means that we have to verify things that maybe they don't have on their credit report, like cell phone bills, maybe utilities, those types of things.
Okay. So what are some good habits to get into, say if you're like a year or 6 months away from buying a home? What are some things that you can do now to help your credit score in the future?
That's a great question as well. What we try to do, we coach all of our clients to just continue to make your payments on time. That is one of the best things that you can do. Not only that, with credit cards, things like that, try to keep your balances at 30% or lower. If you can do that, it gives you a better recipe to escalate your score.
Okay, good. Should you ever, maybe, if you get a credit card or something like that, is it a good thing to have, or should you limit your credit cards or things like that?
That's an awesome question. That's a very common question that we have. We try not to have more than a few credit cards. The credit experts will come in and tell us that you don't want any more than 2 or 3. So, but if you do have a credit card, you want to keep those balances low and try not to max them out.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk for a minute about interest rates then. How do interest rates affect good credit scores negatively? Like how does that play into it?
The mortgage companies and investors, we call them, actually have what they call loan level price adjustments. So that can have a big impact versus your credit. So if somebody has challenged credit, sometimes that can be considered a higher risk, and therefore sometimes the interest rates can be considerably higher. So the better the credit is on that scale, the less risk it is and the better rates that they get. And most consumers don't know that. They can come in with marginal credit, think that they're going to be on the same playing level as somebody with excellent credit. So it does help to have good credit.
Okay. Is there a point where if someone's credit is just so poor that they cannot do a loan, is there anything that you can do? What options are out there for people, maybe like 550 or around that area?
We can do financing at our company all the way down to 550. If somebody has a lower credit score than that, then what we do is we try to put them on a game plan to buy in the future. We actually refer them to our credit experts, which will tell them what to do with their credit, maybe help them negotiate things off of their credit and build credit. That's a big thing as well. So a vast majority of people with those scores and lower don't have those things, so it's a coachable item as well.
Okay. How long does it normally take for them to be coached or to get their score up?
Anywhere between 4 and 12 months is what we're seeing.
Okay. And does it make a huge difference, or is it a little bit at a time? Does it just depend on?
It depends on the individual, how willing they are to make that work. So we've seen some people escalate it and, you know, graduate from those systems in 4 to 6 months, and then we've seen others take over 12 months. So it just depends on the individual.
Okay.
And like Ashley kind of mentioned, what types of programs do you have for challenged credit?
Well, we actually have a lot of programs for challenge credit. No, the best program out there for credit challenges is really FHA. That's going to be the most lenient when it comes to credit scoring. But we have other programs out there if they have a down payment, or maybe they're self-employed with marginal credit, where we can use the bank statements and maybe 1 year worth of tax returns, those types of programs. We do have them in-house and they're available, but those are the programs we would look at for any marginal credit.
As far as with credit score, is it a bigger deal when they have less of a down payment or lower debt to income ratios? Is there a point where credit score doesn't really matter in the process, or?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of things that make up the interest rate as well as the loan approval. I would like to tell you it's all about credit, but it's not. We look at a lot of different things like the property type, debt to income ratios, which you referred to. We look at the credit, of course, and sometimes even the property. So once we analyze all of those things, you know, there are certain things that, you know, make up the credit score, but for the most part, I'm sorry, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay,
So,
sorry.
what if someone doesn't have any credit?
You know what? They used to tell us good credit is no credit. So, and sometimes that can come into play in this scenario. However, in a case where somebody doesn't have any credit, it's not all bad, because what we can do is we can do those traditional credit lines, which we've talked about. Verify their rent is a big one, okay? Verify the utilities, insurance. We've even gone as far as Netflix to be verified. So as long as they have a good payment history on those items, it gives us a good recipe for approval.
Okay, so that's great. I think we may wanna
Fantastic
cover it.
information.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming by today. It's
Thanks
always
for
a
having
pleasure
me.
to visit with you. If you have any additional questions, visit our website or give us a call. We'd love to help.
Okay, thank you.